Welcome to Ignite Intimacy, a podcast exploring intimacy, romantic relationships, sexuality, and everything that relates to these hot topics. We're going in. Are you ready? This is your host, Laura Aisha. Let's do this. Hello, Ignite Intimacy community. This is Miss Laura Aisha, and it is so good to be here with you again for another episode of Ignite Intimacy. I have a good friend in Mumbai, and she is the one who referred me to Alison Lessard, and she also referred me to our guest today. So I'm so excited that we have Christabel on the line from Australia. How are you, Christabel?
I am wonderful. Thank you so much for having me today.
Oh, it's so good to hear your voice. You and I have been going back and forth about scheduling this conversation for quite some time. It was a little bit tricky just with time zones and everything. So I'm super excited that we got this on the calendar and that we're here now.
Yes, it's difficult to get two busy women together, isn't it? Especially on different continents as well.
Yep, absolutely. Sometimes it is. And, so Neha had reached out to me and she said, you need to learn about this woman, Christabel, that I know in Australia. She created this incredible card deck that I so want you to learn about. And so she scheduled a call for us. We all got online together and had a good, juicy conversation about the masculine and the feminine and relationships and all of that. And then you were kind enough to send me this gorgeous card deck that you've created.
Thank you so much.
So tell us a little bit about this.
Okay, I can talk about this deck all day. It is my baby, and I am in love with it. I'm so lucky that I had another actual very powerful woman, just like you, who collaborated with me on this. She is in Canada, and she is an amazing artist who really just brought every single possible idea and, hope I had for this deck into fruition. So I just want to take a moment to really honor her as well as my co-creator. So this deck, how it really began was with me making YouTube videos. Part of what I do is weekly readings, really about divine love. So readings about the feminine and masculine. And when I personally was looking for an oracle card deck for this that really represented the masculine as well as the feminine, I really found that there was a lack on the market. We're really lucky at the moment with the rise of the feminine. We have so many beautiful decks that feature goddesses, but really there's not many that have a good representation of the beautiful masculine. And that's really where this idea sprouted from.
Well, and what I want to say is that, like, on Ignite Intimacy, we've had, I'd say, mostly female guests. We've certainly had men on the podcast, and I'm excited. I'll be recording more conversations with men and have a couple in the queue right now. But, we've featured a lot of women.
Yes.
And what I know that certain men who are like taking leadership in these areas of divine feminine and masculine and love and relating and sex and sexuality and the honoring of the divine feminine and masculine is that men, I think, have largely felt left out of this conversation.
I totally agree with that. And I feel like it's really sad. And I'm really finding that is shifting. So as you're saying, just like an example with your podcast, you're featuring more masculine energy. And I'm finding that the masculine are finding their voice now. And it's really lucky that's happening because one of the reasons that I personally talk about what I talk about is I feel like we've reached a point now, we're still getting there, but for females, we've really taken back our power in a big way. We found our voice. We have so many spiritual teachers that are females, and we're feeling more comfortable of like coming out of the spiritual closet and talking about our magic and our power. But with that, I have a concern that maybe we can go the other direction and kind of emasculate the men. So just as in the past, the patriarchy have repressed females, we could possibly go in a direction of doing the same thing in the opposite way. But we are counteracting that. And I find that there's so many more men coming out now in the same way as we have in the last few decades, and talking about their vulnerability and talking about the fact that they have emotion and that they have their spiritual path in a different way to we do, but it's still very important.
Absolutely. Well, I think it's everything. The point is like nobody gets left out of the conversation.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, and exactly. And to me, I feel like if we are these beautiful, powerful women, don't we want beautiful, powerful men next to us?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So, okay, so we're going to be diving into some really juicy topics here.
Yes.
We're going to be diving into like just the aspects of just like being human and not trying to run away from the shadow just to be in the light and hide the shadowy parts of ourselves. But we're gonna dive into like escapism and being human and all of that goodness. We're going to talk more about the card deck and maybe we can even do like a reading while we're on the line.
I would love that. I actually, I'm down for that. I've already pulled us 4 cards, so we can get into those as well.
Okay, great.
And yeah.
Awesome. Well, so before we go into all of that, Christabel, I'd love for you to tell us, like, where did this inspiration come? Where did this calling come to start doing these divine love readings and to do the work that you're doing today in the world?
Okay, let's get into it. So for me, my path really started when I was 18. I started learning education at uni. And after 3 years of studying to become a teacher, I decided to change to psychology. And then I was studying psychology at uni. And at the same time, I started my spiritual path. So for me, my spiritual path, not that I can really say it began there because I grew up as an empathic child and just didn't know it. So I'd say my path really started, from the moment I came into the world. I remember my mum telling me that I used to go around when I was 2 and ask people, how are you feeling? So it's really always been there. I just didn't really know that's what it was. So what happened was I came across a Reiki workshop. I had no idea what Reiki was, and I just decided I need to do this. So after doing Reiki 1 and Reiki 2, I decided to quit uni, which was a really difficult decision for me because I am about as Capricorn as a person can be. I have 7 planets in Capricorn, and for me to quit uni was a huge deal. And I didn't even really know why. I just felt like I had to. So I quit uni and I kept going to every possible workshop I could go to, not even realizing that I wanted to be a spiritual practitioner. But I went to psychic development workshops. I kept on my Reiki path. I learned Seishim, which is another beautiful energy modality. And I did a goddess diploma, and I just got my hands on any book I could find and just studied. And then what I realized I was doing was unpacking all of these ideas and beliefs in my head and kind of really pulling them apart and then putting them back together with psychology. And then what I really wanted to do was start making YouTube videos. And my intention with that was actually to have a channel directed at spiritual beginners. So what I really wanted to do was make really simple videos that weren't light and fluffy. So I really feel like the direction we're heading in with this, Aquarian New Age is to bring in scientific information with our spiritual information. And that's just another form of duality merging together. So instead of just having the light and fluffy and being in the cosmos, we can actually pull it down and anchor it into earth and make sense of it. What does it mean to be human and to be spiritual? And how can we actually integrate all of this information into our daily lives and make it easier to be a person? So that was really my intention. And then I happened to make one video directed at twin flames, which is a really deep soul connection. I made one video about it. And then a few months later, I was still making videos about it. And I was doing weekly readings. And I really fought it for a long time. I was still saying to myself, no, I'm a spiritual beginner channel. But then I realized, no, I wasn't. And that's when I realized that my passion really is bridging the gap between females and males and helping people that experiencing sacred relationships. And I really wanted to help to take away the battle of the sexes mentality and to help people understand why the dynamics between males and females isn't right at the moment, why there's so much pain, why don't we understand each other, why do we have that battle of the sexes mentality. To bring understanding to that so that we can heal it, and then we can make a new paradigm for love, and we can come back together with purity and just understand each other.
Wow. Yes to all of that.
Yeah, so an interesting path, and I was very confused the whole time, and I really didn't know, changing from education to psychology and then starting this spiritual beginners channel and then fighting the fact that this was what I wanted to talk about. But now I understand it. So I can look back on everything that's occurred and go, okay. So the universe actually did know what it was doing. I did know what I was doing, even though at the time I felt very lost.
Yeah, that's amazing. So how did things progress from there?
Okay, so from there, I just kept going with the Divine Love videos. So what I was doing was the weekly reading, but also doing a lot of videos. I actually do a lot of videos about the male perspective. So what I really feel is healing for females, and I just want to make a disclaimer here. When I say female and male or feminine and masculine, I'm talking about all forms like sexuality, because for a lot of people, the female actually carries the masculine energy very strong, or the male carries the feminine energy. And I also include, same-sex couples in this, and I also have in my deck two same-sex couples. So I just want to throw that out there as well. So that's what I was doing. I was making a lot of male perspective videos to try to help particularly females, because my viewers, like you said, I've got about 85% are female, only 15% are male. So what I really wanted to do was speak directly to the women that were in pain and maybe were experiencing unrequited love or just pain from experiences they were having in their relationships, and try to explain why the masculine's also hurting, and to say, hey, look, they're also dealing with their own wounding. And if we can understand why someone else is wounded, it means that we can understand it's not because there's something wrong with us. So instead of going, I'm not worthy, I'm not lovable, I'm undeserving, maybe we can look at it as, hey, just as I'm in pain and I'm carrying all of this female pain from being repressed for so long in history, how are they in the same boat? What is the pain for them? How have they been repressed? How have they been told to not be vulnerable? And how have they been told not to show their emotion and to man up and boys don't cry? And what's their version? We've got our version. They have their version. It's not that we're not lovable. It's just the fact we're all in pain and we're all trying to cope with it. So that's really the direction I was going in.
Yeah. Well, and then, it's interesting just because, that whole piece of avoiding the pain or avoiding the shadow. So is this really where you were like, okay, we need to focus on being human and embracing all of it.
Yes. And I can even tell you the key moment for me that came really evident. So for me, I just happened to be on a lot of different Facebook groups for different spiritual communities. And I once read this comment on a law of attraction video. And this woman commented, and I, just send her so much love for this, because she wrote, "My mother just died. I'm having a really hard time staying positive. Can you guys please help me stay positive? I'm really failing in this." So if we're at the point where somebody who just had their mother pass away feels like she's failing because she's not able to be in positive focus, we've got an issue.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And what I find is, okay, so Earth is a realm of duality, right? That's really what Earth is for. We are here kind of like forgetting that we're connected to Source. We purposely come with spiritual amnesia to feel separate, to be in duality, so that we can slowly come back to wholeness and we can slowly come back to love. So to me, that means we are meant to experience both forms of duality. And instead of trying to forsake the shadow, pretend like it's not there, and to fight it, the way we actually fix the shadow is to integrate it and to look at it and face it and not hide from it.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, we're all things. We're dark and light and everything in between.
And it's beautiful. And if we can love our bad sides, because really, when you think about it, every single human being that has ever been alive and is alive right now has been good and bad.
Well, and let's, because I do my best to not speak in terms of good and bad, because who says light is good and dark is bad?
Yeah, exactly. It's all part of the puzzle. And that's where I feel like if we can stop hiding from our quote unquote bad parts, that's when we can actually really love ourselves and love others.
Well, and this ties so deeply into sexuality and sex and, that whole world, just because I know for myself, I grew up feeling really bad and wrong about my own sexuality through the years.
Yes.
And carried a lot of shame and just yucky energy with me in relationship to who I was, the thoughts I had, who I was attracted to, the things that I did for most of my life. Like, I'm just in the last few years unpacking a lot of that stuff.
Yes. I love that you bring this up, because this is another topic that I speak about a lot, and it's a topic that actually has become one of my most popular series, is speaking about sexual healing. And it is so important because sex is sacred, it's divine, it's beautiful, it's as close as we can get to oneness. When you think about it, it is, I'm going to use the term feminine and masculine so I don't exclude any same-sex couples here. So we have the feminine essence and the masculine essence coming together to reunite. And that's what is so profound about orgasm, because what that is a moment of remembering what it's like to be whole, and to, not that we're not whole by ourselves, because we each have feminine and masculine within us, but that moment of coming together and reuniting, it is a moment of connecting with the divine. And unfortunately, we've been taught to see it as a bad thing, but that's part of the repression of the feminine essence and the masculine essence. It's a part of how we have been repressed with our power. We've been taught that it is dirty and wrong because it doesn't have as much of an impact if we're not participating in as much sacred sex. There's not as much healing occurring if we have forgotten that sex is healing.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and it's interesting because I just think about the energy of sex and attraction, and how just in my own experience, I've been fine-tuning who I share that energy with.
Yeah.
When in my younger years, it was just like, woohoo.
Yeah, exactly.
Really not bringing much consciousness to who I was actually sharing with.
Yeah.
And that created a lot of drama and a lot of trouble for me.
Yes, because when you share that moment with somebody, you are actually taking on a part of their DNA. So when you share that with this other person, you literally do take on their essence. So it is important to, really, really be aware of who it is that you're interacting with. But also there are methods of like cleansing. So we can do work with our womb center and we can clear a lot of energy from our womb. So just, anyone who's listening here that has gone into, oh no, that guy from 20 years ago, oh no, I took on his DNA. It's all good. Everything is energy and we can shift a lot of energy. So don't panic.
Yeah. Yeah. It's not like with you forever. Like we
Exactly.
can energetically cut the ties and
Yes.
clear the cords.
Yes.
And I'm just trying to think of who was I speaking to? I think it was for a podcast episode where they do like a energetic clearing for everyone that they engage
totally.
with.
Yes, I do as well now. And you can even do things like a bathing ceremony. So you can have, because the element of water is so profoundly cleansing, if you have a nice like bath ritual with the intention, like call in some beautiful goddesses. Kali is a wonderful one to work with, so is Athena, and actually consciously bring them in to remove any cords, to shift anything from your womb center. And you can also do this, just a side note, for your past lives. I did a huge one about a year ago where I really did a lot of work on clearing lovers from past lives in a bath ritual, and it was really powerful.
Yeah, that's amazing. Well, and are there any other ways that our listeners might be able to, do an energetic clearing that is just sort of like in the moment wherever they are? If they're just like, oh, I need to I'm at work and I can't get focused and I just need to release that energy, let it go, cut the cord, whatever, what might be.
Just intention itself is incredibly powerful. Just having that intent is enough. Like if you're just at work and you just need to get it done, just remembering how powerful you are, and also the affirmation, I am a sovereign being. There is so much power in reclaiming your freedom. And the more you can say it with like a bit of sass and just be like, yeah, I'm a sovereign being and I choose what energy I have. So you know what? All of the cords that are connecting me to anybody that no longer serves my highest good, bye-bye. And that's what it really is. Yeah, it's just the more confidence you bring. And this happens over time. So like for me, for instance, when I first started doing things like this, I didn't have any belief in myself and I just thought, oh, this isn't working. But as time goes on and you reclaim your power, you get to the point where you can just say one little thing and you just bring so much power to it that it's all that's necessary.
Yep. Yeah. And something that I'll just do, and I do this quite a bit, and I've been attuned to Reiki too.
Yeah.
So I'll just use Saheki, the symbol, and I'll just breathe. And when I exhale, I just literally imagine all the energy just going into the earth out through the bottom of my feet. And I just, get it all out. And then I shake and then I do a chokure.
Yep, perfect.
To just power it up. And,
yes.
So if you're not attuned to Reiki and you have no idea what I'm talking about, you can also just breathe. You could just say, ooh, I need to clear their energy from my field. And, big, deep inhale, exhale, all that energy from the, above your head, through your body, down, out through the bottom of your feet into the earth, and just ask earth to take it and to recycle it into pure love and light.
Yes.
And so that's another way of energetically clearing.
I recommend that everyone does a quick cleansing, grounding, protection routine every day. And you get to the point where it becomes a part of your daily routine. But just something simple like bare feet on the ground and just imagining that you've got deep roots going from the bottom of your feet down, 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 down through Mother Earth, through all of her beautiful layers until it reaches the iron core. And then you just imagine those roots wrapping around, and you're just imagining any energies going down and being soaked up. And then you just cleanse. So you ask Archangel Michael to be with you and to remove any fear, any cords. Athena, again with her sword, just clear anything out. And then you just imagine a protective shield around you. And you just work with your intuition here and just use a different color every day. So today you might feel like purple, psychic protection, the violet flame color, pink, green for healing. And it's a good way to practice using your intuition as well, just knowing that the first color that pops into your mind is the guidance.
Awesome. Yeah, something that I'll do is just when I'm laying in bed at night, I just lay with my one hand on my heart, one hand on my abdomen. Yeah. And then, I just lay there and meditate for a few minutes. And then I just, inhale. And then I move my hands, palms down to the side, to my sides. And I just do a exhale and do Seiheki again, the clearing symbol for Reiki, and just clear any energy from the day into the earth. And then again, power it up with Chokure, and then I just do a self-hug on both sides and give thanks.
And another really great one for people that aren't really feeling confident in their intuitive ability yet is an auric massage with some essential oil. Essential oil is a gift from Gaia and so potently healing. So what you can do, and it can be really simple, lavender. Lavender is an all-rounder. So it is cleansing, soothing, protecting. It's a great first one if people out there don't have any yet. So what you do is you just put a few drops on your hands, rub them together, then starting at your feet, just working it through your aura and working up. And really, when you get to your face, just really take a few deep breaths of that in. And this is a great one for people, like I said, when they're not feeling confident, because a lot of the clients I speak to aren't really feeling like they have the ability yet to, say, put a protective shield around themselves. They're just not feeling that yet. But this one, it's like you're putting the focus on the oil itself, so you know that there's something else that's actually physically involved.
Okay, great. So,
and I was going to just say also, don't forget the power of the womb center. If there's one thing I can pass on to women is to work directly with your womb center. And I do have a video on my YouTube channel, Physical Ways of Sexual Healing. So if you're curious about that, I do speak about meditating with the womb center and some physical ways that you can release sexual energy.
I'd love to include that in the show notes.
That'd be perfect.
Great. Okay, so we'll get that link from Christabel, and we'll include that in the show notes so that you all have easy access to that and her YouTube channel. So let's talk a little bit more about this card deck.
Yes.
It is so gorgeous. When it arrived, I was just like, wow.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, the man on the cover.
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah, I know, right? Well,
and this goddess queen is just like, on the cover is just amazing.
Thank you so much. So on the cover, we've got Ganesha and we've got Kali. And just a little fun fact, by the way, speaking about Neha, when I pulled cards for her, you will never guess, I pulled Kali and Ganesha. So Neha's from India, and of course the Indian goddess and the Indian god came up, and I almost couldn't believe it. Still get surprised by spirit
amazing.
Every day.
That's amazing. Well, you did pull some cards for this episode.
I did, and Kali actually came up. So, so perfect. And so Ganesha, I have to say, I think he's my favorite card because I had the idea. So for this deck, I really wanted to have it more modern, like I said. So we have the 11 gods, 11 goddesses. And what I really wanted was to show what it would look like if these ancient gods and goddesses were roaming Earth right now. to make them a bit more modern, a bit
I
more
love that.
sexy. Because, like,
Yeah.
personally, I want a bit more sexiness
Yeah.
in the decks I have. Like, I want to pull them, and I want them to make me feel powerful. I want them to ignite my sensuality. So that's really what I was aiming for. And with Ganesha, for those who aren't familiar, I'm sure most are, he usually has his elephant head. So what I really wanted to do was have him featured with an elephant head tattoo on his chest instead, and then to show like this sexy Indian man. And at first I was a little bit nervous about it because, I really wanted to honor every single culture that I featured, and I wanted to respect the traditional mythology. So at first I was a bit anxious about this, but I thought, no, I think, people are ready for a bit more sexiness and to see more of a modern interpretation of all of these gods and goddesses that we know and love. And I have to say, like, when I pulled the card for Neha and I was reading her the description, she just clapped the whole time and was like, thank you. And that's like straight away when she's like, I want you to come to India. I want everyone in India to know about your deck. And it was like this sigh of relief for me because I went, oh, okay, made the right decision there.
Yeah.
Whew, that was risky, but okay, it's paid off.
Yeah. Wow. Amazing. Yeah. I'm looking through the cards right now in my deck, and it's just like, just the images are gorgeous.
And they're more grown up because,
Yeah.
and this is no disrespect to any Oracle card deck out there at all, because, the beautiful thing about Earth is we're always expanding, always growing, and we take inspiration from where we are and we continue that on. So what I wanted to do was to give thanks to everyone who's created awesome decks and go, okay, so what's the next step? And I thought, what would be cool? To have a deck where every single card is like a grown-up artwork. And, it took a lot of time. Like my poor artist, Danielle, she's wonderful, by the way. Her art is just incredible, but it was a lot of work for her.
Yeah. Yeah, I bet. I bet. I mean, I'm looking at these cards and I'm just like, this is a piece of work. I mean, it
really is.
These images are just, I mean, you've got to check out this deck. It is very well done. It is so beautiful. So what can people, like, what would people use the deck for? Like,
okay, so let me just say also, so we've got the 11 goddesses, 11 gods, like I said, and then I also wanted to have 11 light cards and 11 shadow. So I wanted this deck to go in deep. So we also have the light and shadow, which are almost like a whole different section to the gods and goddesses, but they do work beautifully together. So you'll find with the shadow and light cards, it's more of a regular people, everyday people. So you've got like the grief and anger card where you've got a modern woman laying in bed crying with her cat. I mean, we've all been there, right? And we also have, I know I
yes.
have. Yep.
More times than I'd like to admit.
Yep. She's got her box of tissues and I'm like, relatable. And that's what I wanted. I wanted people to, if they're just having relationship troubles and they pull some cards out and they see this woman crying in bed and they're like, yes, I relate to that. That's what I wanted. And same with like the selfhood card. We have a modern woman sitting in a cafe having a cup of coffee by herself. I mean, another thing that is actually relevant to us in our daily lives now. That's what I was going with here. So what I have, and if you have your deck there with you, I don't know if you've noticed that on the backside of the cards, there's a different symbol in the corner.
Okay, so on the back of the cards.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. What is that?
Yeah. Okay, so those symbols there are a way to pull a card from each section.
Okay.
And I wanted that to be really subtle. And this is another thing that I wanted to bring something like kind of new and exciting to Oracle card decks. So I thought it would be, a little fun little twist.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah. And what I love about it too is it's made subtly enough so if you don't want to pull cards from different sections, you don't have to like hone in on those symbols. Because sometimes I just want to see what cards come up. I might just want to pull one card. So you can either do that, pull one card and just get like the energy for the day, or you can do a deep snapshot into your situation. So let's just say, for the clients I have that are experiencing sacred relationships, if they pull a goddess, a god, a shadow, and a light, they have insight into what's happening within their relationship. So they might pull, say, Achilles, which is the god I pulled for us today, by the way, which was perfect because that's really what I was wanting to talk about today, the god of vulnerability. And for the descriptions, I have actually written them as a teaching. So is it okay if I read the Achilles description?
Sure.
Because that's really, to me, the energy that we're bringing forward today is about the fact that the masculine has wounding too, and they've been repressed.
Yes. And something that I just want to acknowledge here is that the images on this deck are so diverse. It is all types of people and just cultures and represented. It's a real life. It's real life in this deck.
That's so important to me. Like, that was the very first thing. So when I had this idea, what I did was actually just wrote down the card names, and I still have the piece of paper, and I'm going to keep it forever. I have just the title of the deck up the top, and then the 4 different sections. And that's how I did it. I did it in like 10 minutes. I just went and wrote down each card name and bam. And from that moment of deciding what the deck was called and deciding what cards were going to be featured, the deck came into fruition in less than a year. And that was with just me, my business partner, who was a good friend of mine for many years. I told him about the idea and he was like, let's do it. So we did it. We did it with crowdfunding, a Kickstarter, and pre-orders is what funded the deck. So it was just me, Adam, my business partner, and Danielle, the artist, and we had it done in less than a year.
Awesome. That's amazing.
Yeah. So that was one of the very first things I said to the artist was, I want this to be as diverse as possible. I want, even in like the light and shadow cards, I really wanted to feature as many different cultures as possible, and I wanted a card for everyone.
Yeah.
And that's when we went with the 2 same-sex couples as well, which I'm holding the openness card in my hand right now. So the openness card features a male couple, and I just love that because, when you think about openness, it does take a lot of openness to come out. Even though we have progressed so far, it's still really brave. And that's why we wanted our male couple to represent openness.
I love that. Okay, so did you read us Achilles?
Okay, so I've got it in my hands, ready to go.
Okay.
I have stepped forward today to bring forth the energies of divine masculine vulnerability. I am an ideal advocate of this message because of my own story. I represent the overall strength of the masculine with one perceived weakness, my heel. Just as I am depicted, embracing my vulnerability, this is the medicine that the collective of the masculine needs, to be embraced for their innately tender, protective, loving heart. It is an injustice what has been done to this part of the masculine template. Just as the feminine has been repressed, so too has he. Men have been programmed to disassociate from their emotions and tenderness for generations. Due to societal put-downs and suppression, and out of fear of ridicule and hurt, it can be difficult for men to allow their vulnerability to shine through. From a very early age, boys are told, boys don't cry, toughen up, man up, you're a sissy, stop being a girl. The damage has been vast and extreme. They experience various forms of this suppression. Ridicule for expressing romantic love to women, being called soft, under the thumb, or whipped. Then there is the expectation to be a pillar of strength, to provide, to protect, to carry the brunt of the load on their shoulders. It is scary for men to open up to softness and their vulnerability. Wow. So that's the style I went for, is more of a teaching for each. So for the gods and goddesses, they are coming through as that particular god or goddess delivering a message. And this goes back to what I was saying earlier about how, for instance, on my channel, I do a lot of videos about the male perspective or a video on the female perspective, because I want people to understand what's happening in their relationship. Maybe, this might be a woman who just pulled a spread and she pulled the God of Vulnerability card, and maybe she can see a bit more insight into why her partner is pulling away or is having trouble expressing his emotions to her, to see that it's because he's hurting, because he's scared to be vulnerable, because he's been told that it's weak if he does.
Mm-hmm.
And then in turn that woman can go, oh, okay, so it's not because I'm not lovable. It's not because I'm unworthy. It's not because I'm this or that, which is our go-to. We always see if someone's exhibiting a behavior, we go, what did we do? Why am I not lovable? What did I do wrong? And we see abandonment as something within us that needs fixing, whereas it's just because someone else is dealing with something and can't be present with us. So that's why I made this deck, to help people see what's really happening.
I love it. Well, tell us, where can we find you online?
Okay, so at the moment, it's still just on my website, so christabeljessica.com. Because this is an independent deck and a startup, that's the only place it's available for now, but I'm really hoping to branch out and eventually, get it on Amazon and Book Depository. And my next step too is to look for a publisher, because I have so many more decks. Like my next 2 decks, I want one to be purely goddesses and the next one to be just gods. So that's my two next decks that I want to work on. And yeah, hopefully the journey to find a publisher is going to be 2018.
Awesome. Well, This is wonderful. So ChristabelJessica.com. Christabel is spelled Christabel, Jessica, JESSICA.com. You can check her out on YouTube. She also has a Patreon page. We'll have all of those links in the show notes.
Yes. Actually, my Patreon, when we're talking about that, my Patreon I set up to do a weekly workshop. So that's really to do a live stream each week, because a lot of the clients I speak to, because I'm really, really lucky, I get to speak to people from all over the world on Skype, and I get to see, people from every single country. And one thing I really find is people are lonely. People feel isolated. They feel like they don't have anywhere around them that they can, meet like-minded people and do spiritual work. So like for me, I was really lucky. I had a spiritual meeting house really close to me where I got to go to all my workshops and, weekly meditations and goddess circles. But not everyone has that. So I wanted to make one available online. So it's really like a goddess circle or like a weekly workshop where I talk through healing processes or like new moon or full moon processes and teach different healing. And I'm about to move over to like either Google Chat or something like that where everyone can be live and people can like meet each other and get connection, and kind of like rekindling, mystery schools and the idea of priestesses coming together to work magic.
Yes.
So yeah, just wanted to say that about the Patreon.
Well, thank you so much for joining us all the way over from Oz to here and where I am today in Los Angeles. It's just been such a pleasure to chat with you and to talk about these important issues, masculine and feminine and being human, with all of it, all aspects of being human, the light and the dark and everything in between.
Thank you so much for having me. And, this just here is healing, because we are coming out as magical people and we're bringing that voice back, and just us talking about this is creating a ripple of healing. So thank you so much.
Give thanks. Well, Ignite Intimacy, you heard it here. Christabel Jessica talking about her Divine Feminine and Masculine Reunited card deck. It is absolutely gorgeous. Check her out online, ChristabelJessica.com, and on YouTube, and also Patreon with Christabel Jessica. And we just love y'all. We're so grateful that you're here with us. Check us out. We just launched an Instagram page. So at Ignite Intimacy on Instagram, go over to iTunes, subscribe, leave us a review and a rating. It helps more people find out about the podcast, and keep, diving into this journey with me. This is so exciting. It's so empowering and opening and uncomfortable and comfortable and exciting and everything. There's like everything mixed up here. And holler at us. Let us know what you want to know more about. Let us know if you have questions about this episode or comments. hello@igniteintimacy.com. So you know how we roll. Stay blessed and ciao for now. Thanks for tuning in to another conversation on the Ignite Intimacy podcast hotline. We love that you choose to spend your time with us. Check us out at igniteintimacy.com. Subscribe to us on iTunes and leave us a review and a rating. It helps more people know about us. We love to hear from you. You can email us with questions, comments, or suggestions to hello@igniteintimacy.com. And tell your friends. Music was arranged by Jason Pfaff and Mike Corey, and this podcast is produced by yours truly, Laura Aisha. Thanks again, and we'll see you on the next one. In the meantime, let your light shine bright and ignite your intimacy.